We're going to do the tutorial for this one, which is punctuating restrictive and non-restrictive clauses. So that and which are words that help us add details to our writing, usually when you're modifying something. So for instance, the unicorn, which specific unicorn is it? The one with the 3 spots. Or you could say the unicorn that has 3 spots. Do you see that those are different? And do you see that whenever you use the which, the little phrase that's being used to modify it is separated by a comma on both sides? Because you could say the unicorn lives in my backyard. You don't need this, but it's a phrase that must be separated by a comma. When you use the word that, you do not use a comma. So the first sentence suggests there's only one unicorn and that it happens to have 3 spots. The second sentence suggests that there is more than one unicorn and that only one of them has 3 spots. That might sound confusing. If you spend some time looking at it, you'll probably be able to make sense of the difference between the two. What I'm telling you is that when you do use the word which, please remember that it must, whatever the which phrase must be separated from the rest of the sentence by commas. So we don't use commas around groups of words or phrases that start with that, but we do with which, like I just said. So the dogs the dogs that play in the park get along well with each other. Should there be commas or should there not be commas? No, there should not be commas because we have used the word that. And then yesterday I went to John's house, which is over 200 years old. So yes, there should be a comma because it's a which phrase. There always gets a comma. All right, so we're going to add or remove punctuation if necessary from the sentence below. This should be a pretty quick tutorial because this is really, well, I guess they're not all about that and which. I thought that they would be. I've never used this tutorial either, this topic. This is the first one for me to teach. So at lunch, Primrose Everdeen had an apple. You should know this from the previous tutorial with when we have words like at, it's telling us this is a prepositional phrase. It's telling us where something is happening. It requires a comma. I mean, I don't mind throwing out the terms like prepositional phrase because ideally you guys would know what those are by this time, but I know that you probably have not been taught what your prepositions are. So it's much easier for me to tell you that prepositions are words that tell you where things happen in relation to something else. So under, over, after, which is actually when something happened. All right. Cho Chang only likes apple juice that has been chilled. So there's the word that, and we know that we don't put commas with the word that. Rafiki is proud of his new skateboard, which he painted himself. We have a which phrase here, so we must have a comma. Moni Myrtle visited the zoo. We do not use a comma with the word that. And here's a phrase that has, here's a sentence with a which phrase in the middle of it. Now remember, those phrases have to be set off with a comma on both sides. So Gilderoy Lockhart's dog, which is almost as tall as a horse, always knocks me over when we play fetch. You could just say Gilderoy Lockhart's dog always knocks me over when we play fetch. This is not a necessary phrase. It gets set off by a comma.